I'm often asked a single question, phrased in 1,000 different ways. Warren, what's the secret? What's the one stock to buy? What's the one decision that made all the difference? They are all searching for that one brilliant move, that single shining moment of genius that changes everything, the one lottery ticket that hits. And every single time I give them an answer they don't expect, an answer that frankly disappoints them. Because the truth is, there is no single move. The gulf between a millionaire and an average person isn't a brilliant idea. The gulf between a billionaire and a millionaire isn't one lucky investment. The gulf is what you do every single day. It's the thousands of seemingly boring, unremarkable, and disciplined decisions that, when stacked one on top of the other, create a force of nature. So today, I am not going to give you a stock tip. I am not going to tell you what the market will do tomorrow. I am going to give you something far, far more valuable. I am going to reveal the 3 daily rituals, the 3 core habits that have been the bedrock of my entire life. These aren't just things I do. They are the operating system that runs my mind. And today, I'm going to give you the source code. Now, before we open the book on the first habit, we must understand the powerful, invisible force that drives this entire system. It is the most powerful force in the universe, a concept Einstein himself supposedly called the 8th wonder of the world. I'm talking about compounding. Most of you have heard of compound interest in relation to money. You know the story. If you had a magic penny that doubled in value every day, how much would you have after a month? On day 1, you have a penny. Day 2, 2 cents. Day 5, 16 cents. It feels slow, almost pointless. After a full week, you barely have $1. But then the magic starts. On day 20, you have over $50,000. And on day 30, you have over $5 million. This is the power of a curve that starts slow and then goes nearly vertical. Now, here is the secret, the one that most people miss their entire lives. Knowledge, wisdom, and habits compound in exactly the same way. Life is like a very, very long hill. And what Charlie Munger and I realized early on is that the most important thing is to find some wet snow that's useful knowledge and start rolling a small snowball at the top of that hill. I know what you're thinking, Warren, that sounds incredibly slow, incredibly boring. And you're right, it is. But the most powerful forces in this world are often the most boring. Gravity's boring, time is boring, compounding is boring. It doesn't give you the sugar rush of a lottery ticket. It doesn't give you the thrill of a speculative bet. What it gives you is certainty. If you get just 1% better at something each day, after a year, you won't be 365% better. The math of compounding shows you will be nearly 38 times better. Think about that. Not twice as good, not 10 times as good, 38 times as good. You have transformed. You have become something entirely new. So, as we explore these 3 daily habits over the next half hour, I want you to erase the idea of a checklist from your mind. Do not see these as tasks to be completed. I want you to see them as 3 different ways to start your own snowball. 3 ways to find that wet snow and give it that first crucial push down the long hill of your life. And the first habit, the one that provides the snow itself, is the most important of all. It is about what you choose to feed your mind every single day.
Let us begin.
So, the first habit, the one that provides all the snow for the snowball, the one that, if you do nothing else on this list, will still change your life profoundly. It is this I read. And when I say I read, I do not mean I read for pleasure. I do not mean I skim the morning headlines or browse the latest best-selling novels. My job, my real job, consists of one thing: sitting in this chair and reading. For over 50 years, I've spent about 80% of my working day doing just that. In my early career, I would read 600, 700, sometimes 1,000 pages in a single day. Today, it's closer to 500. Now, the number is not the important part. That's the part everyone latches onto because it sounds impressive. The important part, the part that makes all the difference, is what I am reading while the world is glued to cable news, reacting to every twitch and flicker of the market. While others are scrolling through social media, consuming opinions about opinions, I am sitting here with a stack of papers. And in that stack, you will find annual reports from companies you have never heard of. You will find trade journals from the most boring industries imaginable, like carpet manufacturing or brick making. you will find 10K and 10Q filings, the legal documents that publicly traded companies must submit to the government. I read about my competitors, I read about my suppliers, I read the reports of companies I have absolutely no intention of ever investing in. Why? Because I am not reading for information, I am reading to build a map. Most people read for entertainment or to find a single actionable fact. They are reading like they're panning for a single fleck of gold. I read like a geologist. I am not looking for a piece of gold. I am trying to understand the entire mountain. I want to know its structure, its composition, its weak points, its history, so that when the time comes, I don't need to pan for gold. I know exactly where the main vein is, and I can walk right up and take it. This is the first distinction you must make. You must stop seeing reading as a passive leisure activity and start seeing it as the most critical active work you can possibly do. It is intellectual mining, and it is hard work. So why do it? Why this lifelong obsessive commitment to consuming what most people would call the most boring documents on earth? The reasons are everything. First, and most importantly, is to build what I call your circle of competence. And inside that circle, to build a cognitive moat. You have heard me say it before, know your circle and stick within it. It sounds simple, but it's the most violated rule in business and investing. People think being smart means having an opinion on everything. It doesn't. It means knowing with absolute certainty the precise boundaries of your own ignorance. Every time I read an annual report about a business I don't understand, I'm not trying to understand it. I am defining my boundary. I am saying, this I do not know. But when I read about a business that I could understand, like insurance or banking or consumer goods, every page, every footnote, every CEO letter is another brick in the wall of my circle. I am making the circle smaller, but the walls higher and thicker. When Charlie and I bought See's Candies, it was because we had spent years reading about the business of branded consumer goods. We knew the economics of a brand that lives inside a customer's head. We knew the pricing power it commanded. We understood the cost of cocoa and sugar. We knew that business better than the people who were selling it to us. That is a cognitive moat. It's a competitive advantage that no one can take from you. The second reason is the compounding of knowledge itself. This is where the snowball really starts to pick up speed. Knowledge is not a collection of isolated facts. It's a lattice work of mental models. When you learn the fundamental economics of the railroad business, it helps you understand the coal business. When you understand the coal business, you start to understand the energy business. When you understand the energy business, you understand the manufacturing business. It all connects. The more you know, the more hooks your brain has to hang new information on. Learning is no longer linear. It becomes exponential. You start to see patterns that no one else sees because you have a broader map of reality. You can predict the second and third order consequences of an event while everyone else is still reacting to the first. Your brain quite literally becomes a more efficient learning machine. And the third reason, which is perhaps the most practical for you, is the annihilation of risk. Wall Street loves to talk about risk. They have complex mathematical models for it. Beta, standard deviation, VAR. It's all nonsense. Let me tell you what real risk is. Risk is not knowing what you're doing. That's it. It's the whole definition. If you buy a stock because your neighbor told you about it, you're taking 100% risk. You're gambling. But if you have read that company's annual reports for the last 10 years, if you've read the reports of their top 3 competitors, if you understand the industry's economics, its threats, its opportunities, and if you buy that business for a price that is demonstrably less than its intrinsic value, how much risk are you taking? Almost none. The act of reading is the act of eliminating risk. It is the homework that 99% of people will never ever do. The market isn't risky, ignorance is risky. I don't try to jump over 7-foot bars. I look for 1-foot bars that I can step over. And I find those 1-foot bars by reading. Now, I know exactly what you are thinking. But Warren, this is wonderful for you. You are a billionaire. Your job is to read. I have a job. I have a family. I don't have time to read 500 pages a day. This is the most common and the most dangerous misconception. You have it backwards. I don't have time to read because I am rich. I am rich because I made time to read. It was and is my number one priority. And you can make it yours. You don't need 500 pages. You don't need 8 hours. You just need to start. So here is the system. Here is how you do it. First, I want you to adopt the 5-hour rule. Commit to 1 hour of dedicated reading every single day. That's it. Just 1 hour. That's 5 hours a week. Wake up an hour earlier. Read during your lunch break. Turn off the television for an hour in the evening. There is no one who cannot find 1 hour. This is the single greatest investment you will ever make in your life. The returns are guaranteed and they are infinite. Second, you need a curriculum. What do you read? I call this the reading pyramid. At the base of the pyramid, 50% of your time should be spent reading about your own industry and your own profession. Your goal is to become one of the most knowledgeable people in your company. Read your company's reports, your competitors' reports, the trade journals. Your career is your biggest asset. Invest in it first. The middle of the pyramid, 30%, should be biographies and the stories of great thinkers and great businesses. Read about people you admire and people you despise. You're not just learning facts, you're learning how great minds think, how they solve problems, how they fail. And at the top of the pyramid, 20% is broad context. Read history, read psychology, read science. This gives you the big mental models to understand the world in which your industry operates. Finally, how you read is the most important part. Do not read passively. This is not a novel. This is active reading. Read with a pen in your hand. Argue with the author in the margins. Ask questions constantly. Does this make sense? What could go wrong? What are the economics of this? And the ultimate test is this. Can you explain what you just read to someone else in simple terms? After you read a company's report, try to explain its business model to your spouse or a friend. If you can't, you didn't understand it well enough. Go back and read it again. This is the first habit. This is the foundation. It's not easy, it's not glamorous, but it is the engine of wealth and wisdom. It is the single activity that turns time from an enemy into your greatest ally. It is how you start rolling your snowball. So you have begun to read, you are feeding your mind, building your cognitive moat, gathering the wet snow for your snowball. This brings us to the second daily habit, the habit that creates the space for the first one to flourish. If reading is the engine, this habit is the fortress you build around it. But now you face the second great enemy of success. The first is ignorance, which we are conquering through reading. The second is interruption. Habit number 2 is this. I aggressively, ruthlessly protect my time. And the physical manifestation of this habit is my calendar, my diary. A few years ago, my friend Bill Gates was visiting and he asked to see my schedule. I showed it to him. He was shocked. For the entire week, there was almost nothing in it. A haircut, a meeting or two, the rest of it was blank, wide open spaces of time. It is the only asset that you cannot buy more of. No matter who you are, you get 24 hours in a day. And every single moment that passes is gone forever. You cannot get it back. The single most valuable asset any of us will ever have is not money. It is not real estate. It is not gold. It is time. Bill at the time had his schedule planned down to the minute. Every moment was filled. A meeting here, a phone call there, a presentation after that. He told me that day that seeing my empty calendar was one of the most profound lessons he ever learned. He realized he wasn't in control of his time was in control of him. Therefore, how you allocate that finite, non-renewable resource is the single most important decision you make every single day. Most people treat their time like a public resource. They let anyone and everyone make a claim on it. A coworker asks for just 5 minutes. A friend calls to chat. An email pops up demanding an immediate response. A meeting is put on your calendar that you don't really need to be in. Every time you say yes to one of these small requests, you are implicitly saying no to something else. And what are you saying no to? You are saying no to reading that annual report. You are saying no to thinking deeply about a problem. You are saying no to spending time with your family. You are saying no to the very activities that generate real long-term value. This is the principle of opportunity cost, and it is the key to understanding this habit. The cost of attending a 1-hour meeting is not 1 hour. The cost is the best alternative use of that hour. The cost might be the one insight you would have gained from reading that would have saved your company $1 million. The cost might be the quiet moment of reflection where you finally solved a problem that has been bothering you for weeks. You realize that your default answer to almost every request must be no. When you begin to see time this way, not as something to be filled, but as your most precious capital to be invested, your entire perspective changes. I have a saying, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. They happen in silence. They happen during long, uninterrupted blocks of deep thought. This is not about being rude. It is not about being unhelpful. It is about having a ruthless clarity of purpose. You must know with absolute certainty what your highest priorities are. And then you must have the discipline to protect the time and energy needed to pursue them. Everything else is a distraction. Great ideas, great investment decisions, great solutions to complex problems, they do not happen in a noisy conference room. They do not happen while you're multitasking between 5 different browser tabs. The world wants you to be busy. Busyness feels productive. A full calendar makes you feel important, but busy is not the same as effective. A hamster on a wheel is busy. It's not getting anywhere. Your brain needs time to process all the information you are gathering from your reading. It needs time to make connections, to see patterns, to let the subconscious mind work its magic. If you are constantly switching from one task to another, your brain never gets the chance to go deep. You spend your entire day in a state of shallow, reactive thinking. I structure my day to maximize these blocks of deep thought. I will sit in my office for hours with no meetings, no phone calls, and just think. I will read, and then I will put my feet up on my desk, and I will think about what I just read. This is where the real work happens. This is where value is created. You must escape the trap of being busy and embrace the power of being focused. So how do you do this? How do you, in a world that demands your constant attention, build a fortress around your time? It starts with a simple but profound exercise. I call it the 25-5 rule. Now, once you have your list of 25, I want you to review it carefully and circle the 5 most important goals, just 5. You now have 2 lists. List A with your 5 most critical goals, and list B with the other 20 goals. I want you to take out a piece of paper and write down the top 25 things you want to accomplish in your life. Your career goals, your personal goals, everything. Take your time with this. Be thoughtful. What do you do now? Most people would say, well, I'll focus on the top 5 and then I'll work on the other 20 when I have some spare time. You must take list B with its 20 perfectly good but less important goals, and you must treat it as your avoid at all costs list. This is a terrible mistake. This is the mistake that keeps people from ever achieving greatness. These are not your second-tier priorities. These are the enemies of your success. Why? Because they are good enough to be tempting. They are interesting enough to distract you. They will seduce you into spending your time and energy on things that are not your absolute highest priority. This exercise will give you the clarity you need. It defines what you say yes to, and just as importantly, what you say no to. You must actively say no to these 20 things. You must put all of your energy into the top 5. I might miss a day. Life happens, but 2 days? Never. This rule prevents the inertia of inactivity from setting in. Breaking a habit for 1 day is a small setback. Breaking it for 2 days is the beginning of a new bad habit. This simple rule keeps your snowball rolling even on the days you lack motivation. The second system is what I call the 2-day rule. It's very simple. For your most important habits, for me that's reading and thinking. I do not allow myself to go 2 days in a row without doing them. Once a week, I want you to do a calendar audit. Look at every single appointment, every meeting, every commitment for the upcoming week. For each one, ask yourself these brutal questions. And finally, you must become the ruthless gatekeeper of your own calendar. If this meeting were canceled, would I be disappointed or relieved? If the answer is relieved, you probably shouldn't be in it. You will be amazed at how many commitments wither under this scrutiny. What is the specific desired outcome of this meeting? Is a meeting the best way to achieve it, or could it be a simple email? Is my attendance absolutely essential, or am I just being invited to be kept in the loop? This second habit, protecting your time, is the enabler. It builds the container. It gives you the long, quiet hours needed to read, to think, and to let the powerful force of compounding work on your knowledge. Without this fortress of time, the information you gather will be scattered by the winds of distraction. But within it, you can take the snow you've gathered and begin to shape it, to compact it, to turn it into the solid core of your growing snowball of wisdom. Learn to batch your shallow tasks. Don't check your email every 5 minutes. Set aside 2 specific 30-minute blocks each day to process all of your emails at once. The same goes for phone calls. This frees up the rest of your day for the deep, focused work that truly matters. We have now established 2 of the 3 pillars. The first, reading, is the act of gathering raw material. It is the intake of information, facts, and perspectives. It's how we build our map of reality. The second, protecting our time, is the act of creating the space for that information to be processed. It is the construction of a mental workshop free from the noise and distraction of the outside world. But now we come to the third and final habit, and this one is the most important of all, because this habit is the compass. It is the mechanism that allows you to use the knowledge you have gained within the time you have protected to make the right decisions time and time again, especially when it is hardest to do so. This third habit is about how you judge yourself. It's about who you are ultimately trying to please. And the habit is this: I live my life and make my decisions based on an inner scorecard, not an outer scorecard. Let me explain what that means. The world is constantly giving you a scorecard. This is the outer scorecard. It's your job title. It's the size of your house. It's the price of your stock on any given day. It's the number of followers you have. It's the applause you get from the crowd. It's what other people think of you. Most people live their entire lives according to this outer scorecard. They make decisions based on what will look good to others. They choose a career that sounds prestigious. They buy a car to impress their neighbors. They sell a stock because the news anchors are panicking and they don't want to look foolish. Their sense of self-worth rises and falls with the daily judgment of the outside world. This is a disastrous way to live because the crowd is fickle. The crowd is emotional. The crowd is often wrong. Living by the outer scorecard means you have outsourced your self-esteem. You have made yourself a slave to the opinions of others. The inner scorecard is different. The inner scorecard is your own set of standards. It's your principles. It's what you believe to be right, independent of what anyone else thinks. It's living a life that you are proud of, even if no one is watching. I often ask students this question, and I want you to think about it carefully. Would you rather be the world's greatest lover, but have everyone think you're the world's worst lover? Or would you rather be the world's worst lover, but have everyone think you're the world's greatest lover? This is the ultimate test. It cuts right to the heart of it. Are you more concerned with the reality of your actions or the perception of them? For me, the answer has always been clear. The only scorecard that matters is the one I keep for myself. I want to be the world's greatest lover on the inside, and I don't care what the paper says about it tomorrow morning. This is not just a nice philosophical idea. It is the single most powerful psychological tool in business and investing. Why? Because it allows you to be rational when others are consumed by emotion. Think about my most famous piece of advice. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. How is it possible to do that? How can you buy when everyone else is selling in a panic? How can you resist buying when everyone is euphoric and stocks are soaring to insane heights? You can only do it if you are not playing by their scorecard. If you are using the outer scorecard, when the market crashes, you feel like a fool. Your net worth is going down on paper. The news is filled with terror. Your friends are all selling. The pressure to conform, to sell with the herd, to stop the pain is immense. But if you are using your inner scorecard, your thinking is different. You say, I have read the reports. I have done the homework. I know what this business is intrinsically worth. The market price is now significantly below that value. The crowd's fear is giving me an opportunity. My scorecard says this is the time to act. You are detached from the emotion of the crowd because your validation comes from your own analysis, not from their approval. The same is true in the other direction. When everyone is greedy, when people are buying things they don't understand for prices that make no sense, the outer scorecard makes you feel like you are missing out. The fear of missing out is a powerful, painful emotion. But the inner scorecard says the price has become disconnected from reality. This is not a game I want to play. I may look foolish for sitting on the sidelines for a while, but I would rather look foolish to others than be a fool to myself. Living by this principle is what connects the other 2 habits into a powerful, unified system. Reading gives you the facts, and the knowledge to build your own conviction. Protecting your time gives you the mental space to develop that conviction without distraction. And the inner scorecard gives you the courage to act on that conviction, especially when it is unpopular to do so. It is your shield against the madness of crowds. It is the source of patience. It is the bedrock of integrity. So how do you cultivate this? In a world that screams for your external validation, how do you learn to listen to the quiet voice inside? There is a simple system I've used my entire life. I call it the newspaper test. Before I make any significant decision, personal or professional, I imagine that a smart but not necessarily friendly reporter is going to write a story about it, and that story is going to appear on the front page of our local newspaper to be read by my family, my friends, my colleagues, and my neighbors. And the test is this: would I be comfortable, would I be proud to have them read the unvarnished truth of my actions and my motivations? This simple thought experiment cuts through all the noise. It forces you to ask, is this a decision I can be proud of? Is this action consistent with the person I want to be? It's not about whether the action is legal or whether it's profitable. It's about whether it's right, according to my own internal standards. When you start applying this test to your life, you will find it has a clarifying power. It makes complex decisions simple. It forces you to align your actions with your deepest values. And over time, by making decision after decision based on this inner scorecard, you build a character that is unshakable. You build a reputation for integrity that becomes your most valuable asset. Because in the end, that is the ultimate goal. The money is just a byproduct. It's a consequence of a life lived with discipline, with rationality, and with integrity. The real prize is becoming a person that you yourself admire. That is the only scorecard that will ever truly matter. So there you have it. The 3 pillars. The 3 daily non-negotiable habits. First, you become an information engine. You commit to a lifetime of voracious, purposeful reading. You don't read for entertainment. You read to build a map of reality, to construct your circle of competence, to annihilate risk. You feed your mind with facts and data, not opinions and noise. This is how you gather your snow. Second, you build a fortress around your time. You recognize that time is your only non-renewable asset, and you guard it with your life. You say no to almost everything so you can say yes to the few things that truly matter. You create long, uninterrupted blocks for deep thought, allowing your mind to process the information you've gathered. This is how you find the space to shape your snowball. And third, you live your life by an inner scorecard. You define your own success. You make decisions based on your own principles, not the applause or condemnation of the crowd. You build a character that you are proud of, independent of your net worth. This is the compass that tells you which direction to push your snowball, regardless of the weather. Reading, thinking, acting with integrity. It all sounds so simple, doesn't it? It sounds like common sense. But as Charlie Munger always says, common sense is not so common. The power of these habits is not in their complexity, but in their consistency. It's not about doing them for a week or a month or when you feel motivated. It's about doing them every single day, year after year, decade after decade. It's about letting the slow, silent, unstoppable force of compounding work its magic on you. Most people will not do this. They will hear this advice, nod their heads, and then go back to their old ways tomorrow. They will continue to search for the shortcut. They will continue to look for the one weird trick. They will continue to live by the outer scorecard. And that is why they will get the results they have always gotten. But if you are one of the few, if you truly understand the power of the compounding curve, if you have the patience and the discipline to start rolling your own small snowball today, your life will look completely different in 5, 10, 20 years. You will not just be richer in your bank account, you will be richer in your mind. You will be richer in your relationships. You will be richer in your character. You will have become a true learning machine. And you will have earned the ultimate prize that money can't buy, a life of freedom, a life of purpose, and a life that you yourself deeply respect. So my challenge to you today is not to try and do all 3 of these things at once. That's a recipe for failure. My challenge is to choose one, just one. Maybe you will commit to the 55-hour rule and read for 1 hour every single day for the next month. Maybe you will do the 25-5 rule exercise and finally gain clarity on your true priorities. Or maybe you will start using the newspaper test before every major decision. Choose the one that resonates most with you, the one that feels like the biggest leak in your own ship. And then I want you to go down to the comments section right now and make a public commitment Write, I choose reading, or I choose time, or I choose the inner scorecard. Declare your intention. Make a promise to yourself and to the world, because the act of writing it down makes it real. It's the first small push of your snowball. Becoming a successful investor, becoming a successful person, is not about being a genius. It's about having the right habits. It's about having a rational temperament. It's about arranging your life in such a way that you are consistently learning, thinking, and acting with integrity. It is a long game, but it's a game you can win. Start today.
Start now.
Thank you for your time.